getting ready for your first start in a couple days. Just excitement, nervous. What are you kind of just feeling right now? 48
I'm really
hours?
excited. Obviously, first start, there's obviously some nerves, but for the most part, I'm excited, ready to get rolling and get this first game on the way.
You were dealing with an injury a lot of last season, is that right?
Not really last season.
I mean, you were hurt, and they really didn't.
This spring, I had a couple injuries here and there, and it kind of limited the amount I was able to do in practice.
When you got into fall camp, you obviously knew you were going to be a position battle with at least two other guys.
Right.
In what ways do you feel like you were able to just separate yourself and earn that job?
The mentality I kind of took towards it was just sort of focus on my job and just sort of put the work in, do what's expected, stick to the standard, and see what happens.
Is there certain parts of your skill set you feel like separate you too?
Just being physical, I guess. Yeah, just being able to throw it in there and do my best. Yeah.
There have been a few, but obviously this program's really offensive line tradition rich.
Yeah.
What's it just kind of mean to you that in year two, as a freshman, to be able to start for this program?
I feel really honored, honestly, to be able to come into a program that's established itself as an offensive line program and having such a rich history with people like Joe Thomas being developed here. Having the opportunity to be a freshman and go out and start for the Wisconsin Badgers is really special to me, really special to my family, and I hold a lot of pride in my heart.
Talk about offensive line continuity being really big. How important is it or beneficial is it just to have a senior like Riley Malman play next to you, who's played a ton of games, and on the other side, another senior, Jake Renfro, that's obviously missed a lot of time with injury, but he's obviously got a lot of experience. Does that have any benefit, just being that you're so young and you haven't seen the field yet?
I'd say it's a really big confidence builder. Being able to rely on the guys next to you is a big part of a line play, and having two guys that have played in a bunch of games next to you really helps me be able to play fast and not have to worry about things.
So you didn't appear in any games last season, so Thursday is going to be kind of unique for you just to step on the field. But what did you get out of last season? Maybe just being on the sidelines, getting the feel for the atmosphere.
I got a few reps at the end of some games last season, and I would say that the biggest thing I took away is just the speed of the game, being able to sort of pick up on the mental piece of the game, how that develops from high school to college and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
What game did you get into last year?
I got in at the end of the Purdue game and Northwestern.
Is that offensive line or special teams?
Offensive line.
Okay. Just getting the feel for Big Ten football. What was just kind of the opening your eyes or welcome to Big Ten football moment for you then when you're able to step on the field against those guys?
I'd have to say just the pace of everything last year. You step on campus in the summer and 3 months later you're running on the field at your first Big Ten game. It's definitely goes fast.
What kind of? I think you were recruited as a guard, but obviously I think you remember saying tackle was a possibility. When that right guard spot kind of opened up as a competition, and the coaches wanted to move you there, what was just maybe your reaction to jumping on that and attacking that opportunity?
Honestly, I was really open to it, to be honest. I played both guard and tackle in high school, so being switched from backup right tackle last year to going in there and being able to compete for the starting right guard position was not that foreign to me, so I felt pretty comfortable.
Coach B said, one thing he likes about you is, you're one of the few guards who was coached that you're strong enough to lock up a defensive tackle. Does that surprise you at all? Just what you're able to do with this big monstrous defensive line that Wisconsin's been throwing out in fall camp here, and just kind of the bodies you're able to handle so early, or have you kind of always known?
That's kind of just been
strong?
my thing. I've just kind of been a musclehead since I've been little. So
what's just some of your weightlifting numbers or maxes you did in the off season?
Back in the off season, I know I squatted a little over 500, but that was almost a year ago now. Then I benched 405 for 2 not too long ago. Haven't really maxed out on deadlift, but did like 1,200 pounds on leg press, things like that.
I know we got the depth chart Monday, but when were you informed that you had won this job?
I think it kind of became clear about halfway through fall camp.
I mean, like, was there a conversation you had with the coaching staff, or did you just know based on you were with the first team offense and not coming out?
It really wasn't like a sit-down thing. It was more of just, we go into fall camp and we're, sort of switching out from day to day, and then all of a sudden it just stops. The switching out sort of stopped, and I just sort of kind of came into the role.
One guy on defense I want to ask you about was Brandon Lane, whom we'll talk to in a little bit, but he was a guy that came in with a lot of hype last season as a transfer and probably didn't have the year he wanted to. I'm guessing you've been matched up with him a few different times. What was different about him from this year to last year? That he went from kind of a guy we forgot about to now he's got a number one by his name on defense.
I think he's really changed his mentality this season. He's been really trying really hard throughout all the practices to really earn that starting role, and I know he was dealing with a lot of back stuff last year, so I think being able to have a plan for that, come back and just sort of be ready and compete this year is the changes he made.
You have family coming to the game for your first start?
Yeah.
Who do y'all got coming?
I've got a bunch of family, grandparents, uncle, aunt. My mom's coming down. My AD from my high school's coming down. So yeah.
Going back to your recruitment, I remember felt like a really close battle that could have gone anyway between Minnesota, Iowa State, Wisconsin. Why did you settle on the Badgers in the end and want to go across the border?
Honestly, I'd have to say it was a combination of things, as I'm sure it is for most people, but just sort of having that connection with the coaching staff. A really big piece was actually Coach Brady. He was like a really big pull for me because I had always loved the weight room, and having someone that's so enthusiastic and energetic about what he does was really special to me. And then you've got obviously the guys here, and having that culture and all that coming together was just what brought me here.
What do you think it's going to be like Thursday night to just run out of that tunnel and line up and take that first snap as a starter for the first time in your career?
Honestly, I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm just really excited to be able to get on that field.
Are you kind of going into it